The age at when women choose to bear their first child has been rising steadily in recent decades, especially in the USA. The average age for becoming a mother was about 21 years in 1970, but rose to almost 27 in 2018. Simultaneously, first-time fathers were about 27 on average around 1970 and 31 on average in 2018. Modern medicine noticeably pushed the biological clock, making first-time parents older nowadays. National Institutes of Health (NIH) reports that 22.3% of women aged 35 and older became mothers in 2016, whereas only about 6.2% did so in 1980. Factors such as rising inflation, higher costs of living, and the improved ability to pursue a career or education contributed to late births. However, sporadic cases on the opposite end include girls with precocious puberty, a rare condition when they exhibit signs of puberty before turning 7 or 8. For reference, the typical age of puberty in girls is 8 to 13. Girls who give birth at those ages are in nearly all cases victims of sexual abuse, and their children have a higher chance of fatal abnormalities or congenital disabilities. However, there are rarer cases among girls who carry their pregnancy to term, whose children survive and live somewhat ordinary lives. Lina Medina, a Peruvian girl, holds the world record as the youngest person to give birth, aged 5 years, 7 months, and 21 days. Her son, Gerardo, born weighing 6 pounds or 2.7 kilograms on 14 May 1939, was named after the doctor who performed the cesarean section. She was mainly unaware of her situation, but her case was well documented from a medical standpoint. Additionally, Lina's husband, Raul Gerardo, whom she married in the 1970s, decades later, provided additional insight into her life. Here's what happened. Much of Lina's pregnancy cause is a mystery. She never revealed the child's father, and quite possibly didn't know the answer. Doctors suspected Lina's father of impregnation, and he was arrested but released due to the lack of proof. Moreover, the exact cause of her early first menstruation and maturity of her sexual organs is unclear, although it likely had to do with the sexual abuse that she suffered. Lina never sought publicity after giving birth and received no help from the Peruvian government. She had a decent life for at least 3 decades, thanks to the doctor who documented her case and delivered Gerardo. He took them in and hired Lina as his secretary. Although he was born healthy and had no significant issues, Gerardo died at 40 in 1979 from a bone marrow disease, and Lina, if alive, turned 90 in September 2023. That means that potential genetics research, such as establishing Gerardo's paternal lineage, will likely happen posthumously, if at all. Lina Marcela Medina de Gerardo was born on 23 September 1933 in a remote part of Peru, the village named Tacrepo. Its eponymous district is one of 13 that make up the Castrovirreno province. Her parents, Victoria Lozada and silversmith Tiburcio Medina, had 9 children. Not much is known about her life in the village, but its remoteness is evident from later recollections. Some scientific documentation, including a few films about her pregnancy and birth, fell into the river during a visit to her hometown and was never recovered. The first signs of Lina's condition became apparent when her stomach grew and she complained of abdominal pain. It's unclear how long this lasted. Lina's village is in the mountainous part of the Andes in South America, so getting to the medical center in Pisco, the Pisco province capital, took time and considerable effort. Thankfully, the doctors took her ailment seriously and did the necessary tests, as they suspected that she had a rapidly growing tumor. However, they were shocked to discover that Lina was 7 months pregnant. Dr. Gerardo Lozada had several specialists from the country's capital investigate the case and confirm her pregnancy. About 1 in 10,000 children have precocious puberty, and girls have a 10 times higher chance of having the condition than boys. That means that their breasts develop prematurely, and their first period happens much sooner. Moreover, studies suggest that sexual contact at a young age might trigger the accelerated development of sexual organs. Lina gave birth to a healthy male child, Gerardo, 6 weeks after the first diagnosis, slightly before the typical 9-month period of gestation. Doctors established that her sexual organs matured because she entered puberty earlier than usual. However, her pelvis was understandably small, which required a cesarean birth for her safety and that of her son. Dr. Lozada performed the surgical operation alongside a colleague, Dr. Busayu, and anesthetist Dr. Coloretta. Doctors created plenty of medical documentation, including biopsies, photographs of her, and x-rays of the fetal skeleton in her womb. 2 photos of her pregnancy were published, but only one is widespread, dating to early April 1939, about 4 weeks before she gave birth. It shows her left side, and she is naked in front of a neutral backdrop, with her stomach visibly pregnant. A doctor named Edmundo Escamel collected the documentation and published his report in the French medical journal La Presse Médicale, which still exists, while Dr. Lozada presented her case in front of the National Academy of Medicine in Peru. They discovered that Lina had her first menstruation at 8 months, contradicting the rumors that she had had regular periods since she was 2.5 or 3 years old. The case fascinated medical professionals and academics, and of course, the news spread. Although initially believed to be a hoax, medical documentation proved the authenticity of Lina's pregnancy. A Texas-based newspaper, the San Antonio Light, reported on 16 July 1939 that a local midwife and obstetrician association wanted to send her to a national maternity hospital, but Dr. Lozada insisted on keeping her under his watch. Moreover, the country's newspaper, La Cronica, published a report that an American film studio was interested in obtaining the film rights. However, Dr. Lozada and Lina's family declined the reported U.S. $5,000 offer. Media was first captivated by the potential complications and Lina's unusual ability to carry a pregnancy for so long without medical supervision, then gave birth to a healthy boy. However, once she and her son were out of the woods and on the mend, the world started asking about paternity. Unfortunately, those questions have never received an answer. Lina was undeniably sexually abused before her 5th birthday, and the perpetrator would have received a harsh sentence in Peru, which is likely why the father's identity is unknown. Finding a culprit should have been easy, considering that she was from a small, distant village and likely didn't come into contact with many men or boys. Unsurprisingly, her father was the primary suspect and was arrested and investigated for child sexual abuse. However, law enforcement soon released him, and no one else was accused publicly. Her father always denied the accusations, and one theory is that someone took advantage of her during the festivities in or around her village, using a large crowd as cover. Lina either did not know her son's father or didn't want to reveal the information. Dr. Escamel speculates that the former was the case, as he mentioned in his journal that Lina couldn't give precise responses to the question. According to Paul Coask, a specialist in child education at Columbia University, who visited the family when Gerardo was 2, Lina was of above normal intelligence and had a perfectly normal baby whom she saw as a little brother, like the rest of the family. Lina initially stayed with her family, but Dr. Gerardo eventually took custody of young Gerardo at his home in Lima, Peru, promising to give him a good life. Lina then lived and worked as a secretary at the doctor's clinic and saw her son regularly. She worked in that position from young adulthood to at least age 33, when she was pictured in a business outfit. Lina preferred to play with dolls over her son until she was mature enough to understand what had happened. In return, until he turned 10, Gerardo thought his mother was his sister. A steady job helped Lina receive her education and support Gerardo, who attended and presumably matriculated from high school. Lina married her first and only known husband, Raul, in the 1970s, and had a second son in 1972, whose name and status were unknown, a very much younger half-brother to Gerardo, but who died in 1979. Her case continued to captivate people for decades, but Lina wasn't interested in discussing her past. Raul commented briefly on the issue and explained that she had a financial incentive to give interviews, especially when a renowned news agency, Reuters, asked for one in 2002. He said in a 2003 conversation with Telegraph India that Lina prioritized personal values over profit, and that besides Dr. Gerardo, no one gave her help that he knew of. So she was disappointed in the government, saying that they lived in a cramped house in a poor, crime-ridden district in Peru. Additional research revealed this area to be entitled Little Chicago, a name perhaps given due to an association with a Chicago-based criminal organization, Chicago Outfit. Obstetrician Jose Sandoval wrote the book Mother Aged 5 and published it in 2002, although it became more popular in 2020 as an Amazon Kindle ebook. She investigated Lina's life and concluded that the government caused her and her children to live in poverty, and that they would have received special care if they lived in a different country. However, she noted that it wasn't too late to fix some of the damage caused to her. When Jose brought attention to Lina's life story, the news reached the office of First Lady Elaine Karp, an anthropologist with a professional interest in the issue. Additionally, she could help, as her husband, Alejandro Toledo, served as the president of Peru from 2001 to 2006. However, she wanted Lina to list what she wanted and needed first. Additionally, Elaine said that Lina could be eligible to receive a pension. Unfortunately, Lina presumably distrusted the promise and never sought or accepted help. DNA technology started developing rapidly in the 1970s, decades after Gerardo's birth. That made solving the mystery of his father nearly impossible until the early 2000s. However, it was Lina who was the biggest obstacle once technology caught up. She refused interviews and would undoubtedly decline to provide a DNA sample, let alone permit the exhumation of her son, who died over 4 decades ago. Unless doctors saved samples of Gerardo and Lina's flesh, such as following a surgical operation requiring a biopsy, a laboratory would never perform a paternity test, thus never solving the enigma of Lina's abuser. That is the likely outcome, based on her opinion of the Peruvian government and life in poverty. Her case is so remarkable that the next youngest confirmed mother, an unnamed Peruvian girl, gave birth at 8, precisely several days before her 9th birthday. Furthermore, the girl is the only known mom of that age. All other moms were 9 or older, making Lina's situation even more extraordinary. Thank you for spending some time with us. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpick these videos which we recommend you watch next. You can talk to us on all social medias or ask a question in the comments below. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.